And now on the line is Emlyn Cullen. Emlyn is the National Spring Clean Manager with An Taisce. Emlyn, welcome to the programme.
Hi Darren, thanks for having me on, appreciate it.
Okay, Emlyn, I've done a couple of interviews with Clean Coast over the last couple of years. The last one being only 2 weeks ago with Richard Curtin. As this is my first interview with yourselves in National Spring Clean, could you start off by telling me a bit about your department and what separates you from Clean Coast?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. So the National Spring Clean is kind of our An Taisce's big anti-litter initiative that happens every year during the month of April. So I suppose the main difference between us and Clean Coast is for coastal cleanups, and the National Spring Clean is for everywhere cleanups. So we ask people to do their little bit in their area. Do a cleanup, can be any size, can be a individual or a couple of neighbours doing outside the front of their house. It can be a school, 600 kids. It can be a sporting club or a business, or there's no limit to the size of it. Tidy towns groups take part in it, and you register with An Taisce on our website, which is nationalspringclean.org, and you get a free cleanup kit from us. You're covered by our public liability insurance, and you off you go. Do your cleanup anytime you want once you have your kit. But the most important thing is that you let the council know afterwards, because they'll take the bags for free afterwards. Now, Richard was probably talking to you about the Team Dublin cleanup, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, we're involved in that as well. So that's happening on, I think it's 22nd of August.
April.
22nd of April, sorry. So he's kind of heavily involved with that, but that's like the kind of, a one-day event that's just in Dublin, whereas the National Spring Clean is the whole of Ireland. Obviously people in Dublin can take part as well. And if you're doing it, it'd be good to do it on that day, because that's kind of the Dublin City Council and all the not Dublin City Council, all the councils in Dublin, all the 4 different councils are aiming for a big event that day. But any day you want to do it in April is cool with us. And as I said, just register, we'll send you the cleanup. It's been going this is the 24th year of the National Spring Clean now, so it's well established. And it's very successful.
Yeah, 24 years. I believe you were set up in 1999. Are you finding it, Emlyn, that since 1999 you have a growing number of people helping you every year?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's been growing. It's grown steadily. Now, I'd say we've probably peaked over the last few years. Last year we had 5,500 groups taking part, and the number's been thereabouts for the last few years. But up until maybe that, we're growing steadily every year. But maybe we've reached capacity. I don't know. Maybe we've reached everyone who wants to get out. But every year there's new people take part, and there's great uptake, and it's amazing that people are willing to give up their time to do this. It's nice to do something for your community with other members of your community. So there's a lot to be gained from it, as well as just a clean street or road.
Yeah, I understand that there are people that do this kind of work throughout the year, not just in April. Are they part of your kind of work, or what's the story?
Well, no, we support anyone, and we give them bags and stuff. But like people who do it all year round, and that's brilliant. And you get a lot of tidy towns groups, for example, that would do that every week. You get individuals who do a little bit on their own area every week. Then what Richard might have been talking about is Clean Coast groups, and they're like established groups that kind of have guardianship of little areas of coast, and they do cleanups on a regular basis as well. So I suppose the difference with all that and this is this is a kind of more targeted drive over the month.
Yeah, okay. I was telling my dad recently that I'm doing this interview with you today, and he told me something, and I don't actually remember this personally, but he told me that years ago the local councils in Dublin used to occasionally provide skips in housing estates for people for free of charge. I understand that this does not happen anymore. Can you tell me, Emlyn, any more about this change of policy, if you know anything about it?
I don't know much about it, but I do know that they take the bags for free afterwards, and if there is a big cleanup, they often do provide skips and stuff. But that would be for a particular cleanup. Do you know what I mean? So if someone was, say, I don't know, Tidy Towns group or a residents group was going to do a big cleanup, and they knew there was going to be a big lot of waste, they would give a skipper. But I think maybe what your dad was talking about was previously they used to put a skipping area for people to get rid of stuff like mattresses and stuff like that. That's not what the spring clean is for. The spring clean is for litter. It's not for clearing out debris out of your house and stuff. So I think that could be the difference. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. Okay. So that's not what this is basically.
I've done a couple of interviews over the last few years actually with different people, and not just Irish organisations, but they were telling me that the biggest litter item around the world, in Ireland and around the world, is actually cigarette butts. Are you finding that as well?
Yeah. It definitely is. It's a huge. It's kind of like the last. It's the last acceptable form of litter. People mightn't throw stuff out of their pocket or throw crisp bags, but they'd still have a cigarette and flick it without thinking. And I think the last survey that was done, which was done by the Department of Environment, Communication, Climate Action, was the percentage of litter that was cigarette butts was 60% in the urban environment. So 60% of all litter is cigarette butts. And it's an insidious form of litter because there's two things, like the butts are made out of plastic, which will degrade into microplastics, which will eventually find its way into our water stream. But also there's a lot of toxicity in the butts, like there's heavy metals, there's they're harmful to habitat, they're harmful to like cigarette butt in a square meter of water would be enough to damage the wildlife in that area. They're harmful to habitat on ground. Like they're really a nasty bit of litter item, to be honest.
I know the government are planning kind of some changes in this area, but we really need to get on top of the cigarette butts, I think. And there's huge kind of awareness, because a lot like I smoke cigarettes, and this issue only registered with me a couple of years ago. I read an article about a Canadian woman, the work she's doing in the area, and it registered with me. And since now I have what's called a plastic pocket ashtray, so I always dispose of them now. But like I think most people who smoke cigarettes are oblivious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just you don't even think you wouldn't even think about it. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, Emlyn. Okay, Emlyn, to come towards the end of the interview, is there anything else about this month or this year's National Spring Clean for April that you would maybe like to tell our listeners about that is maybe different from previous years?
Yeah, well, sure. Well, this year we're very keen to highlight the circular economy movement. So last year the government passed the Circular Economy Act, and that the idea of the Circular Economy Act is to put the whole country on a kind of working on a circular economy basis, and that's the idea is that things don't go out of use. So we reuse, recycle where we can. We want to move away from the linear stream of production and consumption. Like, a huge problem with the climate change issue is our consumption. Like, it takes a lot of energy to meet our consumption demands, whether it be products, whether it be anything. And the idea is to get away from this linear idea of that something's made, something's used, something's thrown away. So our little part of it is just that we encourage people to recycle when they can, when they're doing their cleanups. So we send out recycling bags. That's part of our cleanup kit. And anything that can be recycled, that you would recycle in your recycling bin, put them into recycling bags. And at least there's a kind of awareness raising, there's a bit of recycling done, and it's trying to get us away from this idea of just consumption that just goes to landfill. So we really, it's part of our ongoing larger scale climate change tackling by the country as a whole. It's just we're trying to promote that basically.